Welcome, everyone, to this episode of Let's Talk About It, our bi-weekly discussion where we take a topic and talk about how it affects the Black community economically. This is April the 9th, 2026, and we will be introducing our topic here shortly. Um, but as always, let's start with the disclaimer. So, the information provided in this discussion is strictly for educational purposes only. Members and participants are strongly encouraged to consult with licensed financial advisors, attorneys, and tax professionals before making any significant financial decisions or investments. And even though I do have decades of business experience, I am not licensed or registered with any regulatory authority. And today's topic is going to be about going from consumer to capital allocator. And let's start with our introductory video.
Let's talk about a simple, powerful shift in how you think about your money.
Have you ever stopped to ask this critical question? Because every single dollar you have
goes down one of two paths. It either leaves your control forever or builds your ownership. Here's the thing, your spending has a direction. It is never a neutral act.
For most of us, the current reality is high consumption and, well, really low ownership.
This reality is driven by two totally different mindsets. So, which one is yours?
The consumer is all about spending, but the allocator, they focus on deployment, ownership, and returns. So what if you made that shift from just buying things to actually building things? This is the crucial move from simple consumption to strategic ownership, from spending to strategy. And look, this isn't about cutting back. It's about consciously redirecting what you already spend. You can change the entire flow, from your income exiting permanently to it returning to build your assets. Now, you might be thinking, there are barriers. And yeah, these structural barriers are absolutely real. But the good news, they are not permanent, and there's a powerful way to overcome them. The solution is collective power. Your individual capital has limits, but coordinated capital is scalable. Think about it. 100 people coordinating just $200 a month. That creates $240,000 in capital per year. And that brings us to the crucial point. We don't lack money, we lack coordination. So are you ready to start building? Your next step is to plug in and start allocating, not just spending.
All right. So let's jump right into today's short presentation from consumer to capital allocator. And we're going to be talking about how we redirect our dollars. I'm Michael Evans. I'm your host, and I'm also the president of the BNIC network, which is the sponsor of the Closed Private Investment Network, which is putting on this educational discussion. So, what is your money actually doing for you? Whenever we spend money, it does one of two things. It either 100% leaves our control or it builds on something that we own. When we look at other cultures and the way that they spend their money, they recycle their money. Within the Black community, unfortunately, the Black dollar only recycles, stays in the community for about 7 hours compared to other communities where it stays normally for weeks. And so we, as the Black African American community, we are the ultimate consumer community. We have over $1.5 trillion worth of spending power, and less than 2% is spent among Black companies. So this message is really for us because we need to be more conscious on how we spend our money. So the current reality is we're high consumers and very low ownership. Um, we fund systems that we don't own. I just talked about the black dollar only recycling within the black community for 7 hours. So that's because we'll go down to a store that's not owned by black people, and that person will take that black dollar, go into their community, spend it within their community, and recycle it within their community so it benefits their community. Um, but we don't do that. And so most dollars exit permanently, whether it's housing, for food, retail, entertainment. It really doesn't matter the spending category. So this starts with our mindset. So the majority of the black community is in a consumer mindset where we're spend focused rather than investment or deployment focused. We're driven by convenience and branding, right? What's hot, what's popular, rather than being driven by ownership and what's the return on this money and how do I have influence or control over what I'm spending my money on. And the consumer mindset has no focus on ownership or long-term return, whereas the capital allocator mindset, it's about accumulating assets, it's about creating cash flow, and it's about using leverage. So first and foremost, we need to shift our mindset from a consumer mindset to a capital allocator mindset. So this is a cognitive shift. It's a conscious decision to go from what can I buy to thinking, when I spend this money, what can this dollar help build? So it goes from just consumption to ownership, and from just recklessly spending to being strategic about your spending. So this is what we call the dollar redirection framework. So it's not about cutting spending. You'll hear a lot of people talk about, well, you need to cut back on spending and so that you have more to save. We're not talking about that. What we are talking about is redirecting where and how you spend your money. So it starts with conscious spending. So it starts with consciously spending your money with Black businesses, with brands that support the Black community, brands that you may own stock in. And then it moves to ownership integration. This is where your dollar helps give you a partial ownership where you're actually spending. And then the next focus is capital deployment, so that when you do have free cash flow and you are looking to invest, where are you looking to invest? How are you looking to invest? So let's talk about practical redirection and action, right? So you've got this income and then you spend it on things. And so you may be renting versus owning where you live. And you may say, well, I can't afford to buy property to live in. That's fine. When you compare how much it costs to own versus how much it costs to rent, a lot of times renting is cheaper. But what you need to do is you need to look at the difference between owning and renting. And let's say it's a couple $100 per month. And now you need to allocate that couple $100 toward acquiring income producing real estate. Now you may say, well, I only got a couple $100 a month. It'll take me forever to save up enough money to, go buy a rental house or invest in an apartment complex or anything like that. Well, this is where pooling your money together with other like-minded people and having fractional ownership comes into play. And this is where the CPIN comes into play because we offer that fractional ownership opportunity where with as little as $500, you can own part of an income producing turnkey low income Section 8 rental property in Detroit. And though I can't speak about specific returns in this public forum, join the CPIN and you'll see exactly what those returns are. And you'll see that it's a very practical method for turning your the delta between what you're saving by renting versus owning and putting that toward ownership of income producing real estate. And then that will allow you to participate not only in generating cash flow, but also in real estate appreciation. So let's look at when we go shop. And so when we're shopping, we need to be a little more aware of the brands that we support. And for example, when there was the backlash against Target, people stopped shopping at Target and they went to Costco instead, for example, right? Target felt that decline. But how many of us have stock in Costco, right? So just because we shifted our spending toward a more conscious retailer, are we benefiting by owning stock in that retailer? Do you own stock in the brands that you support? Do you go to Starbucks and get that latte every day? Do you own stock in Starbucks? So it's very simple to participate in stock ownership with applications like Robinhood, where it's very easy for you to invest minimum amounts into the companies that you're spending money with. Okay. And then there's what are we doing with our savings? So at CPIN, we teach through our financial independence course that it should be a specific methodology toward reaching financial independence and what you do with your free cash flow. And first and foremost, you need to establish a security savings for an emergency fund for that cover 3 to 6 months worth of monthly expenses. Then it's pay down all debt that isn't contributing to appreciating assets. So credit card debts, loans, and then once you've done those two things, then investing in assets, appreciable assets, cash flowing assets, what we call income producing assets. So this is just a practical redirection of what are you doing with your income and your spending. Now, some of you will say, well, there's barriers to me doing this, right? That You've got limited access. Well, I just talked about using um, apps like Robinhood to buy individual stocks. There's joining CPIN to get access to private placement opportunities that you typically wouldn't have access to. Um, so these are structural barriers, and they're not permanent ones. And what the CPIN does is we provide access to these methodologies as well as the financial education, because there's a huge financial education gap when it comes, especially in the Black community, of understanding how to manage your money, um, understanding how to become financially independent. And we have a knowledge center that has more than 30 different courses. The majority of them are at our beginner level, and so they're free. And now we're opening up our knowledge center to any and everyone. You don't have to be a CPIN member in order to get access to the beginning courses on the Knowledge Center. And so I will put that link in the chat where you can go to the CPIN Knowledge Center, simply register with your name and email address, and then you have access to the full suite of our beginning courses. There's the conditioning. We've been programmed to be consumers, so we have to break that conditioning, and hopefully through discussions like this, we can help to recondition you from being a consumer to being a capital allocator. And then there's fragmented capital, right? So with your $100 to $200 a month, there may be limited opportunities versus when you put your money together with other like-minded people. Now we open up the door to a lot more early entry opportunities that typically are not accessible to the average person. So these are structural barriers and not permanent ones. And the CPIN is established to help break down those barriers. So let's talk about the pathways to start allocating. So it all starts with you personally, and it starts with your budget and automating and using some tools. And so the very first course that we offer through our Knowledge Center is our financial independence course. And so I'm going to show you a quick video of what that course entails.
Okay, let's dive into the Financial Independence Toolkit. It's the big question, right? This tool is going to help you find that answer. It makes planning for financial freedom way less complicated. It's basically your roadmap. And here's the best part. This whole toolkit is free, exclusively for CPIN members. So it really just comes down to 4 simple steps. Let's jump in.
First up, create your budget. We're talking about your ideal future lifestyle here. It's easy. You just plug in what you think you'll spend monthly.
And boom, the tool calculates your total annual expenses right there for you. All right, let's move on to step 2, figuring out your comfort level with risk. You'll just answer a few questions about how you feel about different investment scenarios. This gives you a cash flow ROI, basically the return you need to fund your budget. Okay, now for the magic moment. Let's find your actual number.
See, the tool just takes your annual expenses and that cash flow ROI you found.
So what is this financial independence number? It's the total capital you need invested. In this example, the magic number comes out to just over $400,000.
That's the target, the amount you need invested to fund your ideal life.
So you have the number. Now for the last step, actually building your plan.
And a tool even helps here, showing you exactly how to reach that goal.
You can even play around with things like your timeline and ROI to see what's possible. And that's it, a super clear 4-step path to financial independence.
It just goes to show you, getting financial clarity is totally doable with the right tools.
So, you've got the tool. The only question is, what's your plan going to be?
So that becomes the first tool that we offer for CPIN members to use to establish their baseline to start allocating how they spend their money, right? So you start with your budget. We've got a budgeting tool that's part of the Financial Independence Toolkit. And then you pair that with the risk assessment. It then produces your financial independence number, which is the amount of income producing assets that you need to accumulate. And then it helps you build an asset accumulation plan, which says how much money do you need to invest on an annual basis, how many years, and what's the annual ROI that you need. So the next step is, once you have that plan and you have that number, is actually executing. And so this is the next tool that we have, which is the CPIN Personal Financial Planner tool. And there's a short video on how that tool works.
Want to build a financial plan in just minutes? Let's see how this tool does it. And it all starts with just a few simple questions to map out your finances. First, you'll just put in some basic info about yourself. This is the starting point. Okay, next up is your income. You just plug in all your different sources right here. All right, time to tackle debt. You've got to list it all to build a solid payoff plan. Now for your expenses. The cool thing is, it automatically categorizes everything for you. And you'll want to be pretty detailed here. The more accurate, the better your plan will be. Next, we're looking at your assets and savings. What you own is a huge part of the picture. So now that we know where you are, where are you going? Time to define your goals. And the last step is a quick risk assessment. This just helps tailor the advice to you. You hit submit and boom, all that info generates your very own financial roadmap. All right, let's check out the results. Here's your main dashboard with all the key numbers. Right away, it gives you key recommendations. These are your clear, actionable first steps. And here's a super useful budget breakdown: needs, wants, and savings. So clear. Okay, so let's dig a little deeper, specifically into paying off debt and investing. It even suggests how to allocate your assets to help you grow your wealth over time. But look at this debt payoff timeline: 45 months. That's a clear finish line, right? So how exactly does that work? Well, it gives you a detailed month-by-month payment schedule. And notice how the principal payments ramp up? That's the avalanche method in action. So, from a few questions to a complete financial map, what could a plan like this reveal for you?
So that's the second tool that we have, is our CPIN Personal Financial Planner. So you start with the Financial Independent Toolkit, then you move to the Personal Financial Planner, which helps you execute the plan. And so that helps you set up from your personal perspective, on a month-to-month basis, how you're doing based on your budget and where you're spending money. And so that's the first step in this escalator. So the next step has to do with being part of a community. And this is where our CPIN investment clubs come into play. So through CPIN, you're able to connect with other like-minded people, and you can form your own group of investment clubs, in which think of it as a support group for your finances. And so the second lesson that we have in our essential lessons for financial independence is self-discipline. And so the investment clubs help you keep that self-discipline. You get to, talk about finances, talk about investment opportunities, talk about challenges that you may be having. And so we have the investment clubs. We also have discussions like this biweekly discussion of let's talk about it. We're also going to start having biweekly CPIN members only discussions where we go into actual investment opportunities and where we dig into the details and we talk about what the investment requirements are, what the risks are, what the projected returns are, how they're managed, where you can really sink your teeth in. But that's for CPIN members only, because we have to have a substantive pre-existing relationship with you in order to discuss the details of any private placement offerings. So, but CPIN is that community layer where you're interacting with other like-minded people. And then there's the institutional layer where we get into private deals and syndications. And so this is also provided by CPIN. These are the private placement investment opportunities that we have. This is where like-minded people pool their money together in order to access early stage investments that they typically wouldn't have access to, either because they don't have enough money or because it's restricted to accredited investors. Through the education process, we turn unaccredited investors into sophisticated investors. And sophisticated investors are able to participate in the private placement offerings that are available through the CPIN platform. And then since we fractionalize our investment opportunities, a $50,000 real estate investment is now accessible for only $500 as being able to get a part of that. And so we offer these fractional investment opportunities, and so this pooling of capital is really where the power of community comes in. So it starts at the personal level of getting your house in order and knowing what the end destination is and coming up with a plan and then executing that plan, then getting with other like-minded people that are on a similar path, using them as a support group, and then being able to lean on each other and to communicate with each other, and then ultimately being able to pool your money together with those like-minded people in order to take advantage of institutional grade investments. Collective capital power. That's what it's all about, right? So in this example, you can see that you may just be one cube, but then when you put that together, then you make a much bigger cube. And this is how venture capital works. Venture capitalist funds, they aggregate money from other high net worth individuals, from other accredited investors. What we're going to do is we're going to aggregate money from both accredited and sophisticated investors. And we do this legally through the 4A2 private placement exemption. This is an exemption that allows us to raise an unlimited amount of money per offering from an unlimited amount of people that are accredited or sophisticated, with whom we have a pre-existing substantive relationship with. But we cannot do any advertising and we cannot offer it to the public. And so this is how rich people have been putting their money together for years. And now we give that opportunity to the average person. And so we use the example of 100 people investing $200 a month. That's $240,000 per year. At that amount of again, just 100 people, $200 per month. Now we're able to collectively invest in those early stage opportunities that are limited to accredited investors. And for example, for $240,000, we can almost buy 5 income producing properties in Detroit that generate $7,500 a year in net operating income. So for the 5 of those properties, that's over $37,000 a year in cash flow. So it's 5 easy steps that each person needs to do personally. So the first step is so this is after you've determined your financial independence number by using the free financial independence toolkit. And you've also have developed your asset accumulation plan, and you're using the CPIN personal financial planning tool. So you got your budget all set up. So the next thing is track your spending. Right now, there's lots of apps that help you do this. It's easier than ever, but you need to be consciously aware of where your money goes. Once you're tracking your spending, then you need to identify redirectable dollars. So if you're spending $5 a day, 5 days a week, so $25 a week, 4 weeks a month, so $100 you're spending at Starbucks. Is there a black coffee shop in your neighborhood or by your job that you can redirect that money toward and help support a black business? Is there another way that you can redirect your dollar toward brands that you're actually own stock in, right? So track your spending, identify redirectable dollars, and commit a percentage of your spending budget to be allocated consciously. The fourth is to join a network. I recommend that you join the Closed Private Investment Network. It's free to join. We do have paid tiers that give you access to more advanced tools, including our AI-assisted tools. But for the basic member, it's free. And now you can belong to a community of like-minded people who want to practice cooperative group economics and have the same objectives that you do. And then the fifth is to stay consistent. One of the ways of staying consistent is by being around like-minded people, belonging to a community of like-minded people, participating in that community, coming to our meetings, starting an investment club, right? Get your friends to join the CPIN. You guys form an investment club within the CPIN, and then you guys can support each other that way. But just find different ways to stay consistent. Because we don't lack money, we lack coordination. And wealth is built through allocation. So the next step is to plug into the BNIC network, become a member of the Closed Private Investment Network, and start allocating, not just spending. And With that, I will open the floor up to any questions or comments about this presentation.
Uh,
What do you guys think? Go ahead, Mark.
good presentation, Mike. It's from a sports analogy, it's always good to go back to the basics. I recall when got back into coaching in 2017, they needed me in the classroom, so I started teaching Dave Ransomy's um, high school course, something foundations in financial literacy. And that was one of the big things. It's like if you go to Starbucks, you should own whoever your brands are. If you're an Apple guy, buy some stock in Apple, et cetera. So I think that was point on. And the other point I think, and we spoke about this, and it's something that's on top of my mind um, on multiple levels, but I'll just keep it simple, is this is very valuable information now that you're making it the entry level education free. I think this is a real easy effort to share with people because there's value they can get off the rip without paying anything, particularly access to the knowledge base. And I think that's a great entry point because you're giving that value first. And even for those that are on top of it or historically been on top of it, even they appreciate uh, sharpening up on the fundamentals, right? It's always good to revisit the fundamentals. So I think thank you for opening that up. That makes it easy. Like, hey man, I'm in this thing CPIN. Won't you check it out? It costs you nothing, but it gives you a taste of what the community is all about. Uh, so I'll land the plane there. Kind of starting to ramble, but excellent presentation. Um, you're offering value. It's an easy share with people we know and care about, regardless of where they're at in their own personal financial journey. Good job.
Thank you. And I'll put the link to the Knowledge Center in the chat. Everyone on this call right now is already members of CPIN, so you already have access to the Knowledge Center. But I ask that you share the link with a couple of close friends and invite them to come see what CPIN is about and to gain access to the Knowledge Center. All they have to do is put in their name and email address, and they get access to the free beginner courses. Tim.
This is very good, and I appreciate it. It was very nice, except I'm not a builder with dollars. I'm a spender because y'all forget being able to consume means freedom. Isn't that what it is? It's the same as freedom. I can go and spend money like a white guy, the richest one in the world, right? So that's the way they get us. We get trapped in consumption because, especially conspicuous consumption, right? All the brands and stuff like this, and get hooked on that. And now, if I have that brand, if I have just this, I must be free because they told me I was. You see, and so and we did, and so something happened where at least my generation became the consumers, and the generations before mine were all the savers, right? I mean, they saved everything. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I'm not that guy who my father. My father said, "You want a car?" I said, "Yes." He said, "Okay, let's go to the junkyard." We went to the junkyard and we built a car from scratch. That's my first car. And then every time there was a car, he always had me. If a car went down, he told me how to fix it. But along came the computers, and I said, "Well, wait a minute. If I break down, somebody's got to fix it, and I may not know how to fix it." And he used to say, "Well, you can figure it out. You can figure it out." Well, yes. Guess what? I figured out if I can go out here and do something to make $100 and pay somebody 50 to get it done, that's good enough for me. So I am a consumer. I don't save. My wife saves. My daughter saves. Me, I'm sorry. I don't save a thing. I believe in spending my money because sometimes you just have to enjoy yourself, especially when you've been poor a long time as a kid. You got to spend some money. So that's freedom. Anyway, that's all. But it was a great presentation. And when I get rich, maybe I'll be like you guys.
And no one is saying to not spend money. Um, right? So the message is not cut back on your spending. The message is to be conscious on where your spending goes.
More
Um,
intentful.
and so I hope that everyone takes that message. It's not about cutting your spending. It's not about denying yourself life's pleasures. But it's about being more aware and being a conscious spender and asking yourself, I'm going to go spend this money. Is there a way where I can spend it to where it benefits me and my community? Um, so that's basically it. Um,
Oh,
Lorraine,
yeah, I was gonna say, I am a saver and I enjoy tracking, but I'm a lazy saver. So I will put my money places and then just not go get it. Like I think I have it like I have a treasury note, I have a CD, and I'll just be like, well, I'll get it and put it somewhere else where it could grow, but I don't feel like going to get it. So in that way, it's like you're just throwing away your money. Because if you never go get it, you're probably never going to spend it. And it's not in a 401k. So that I will say I need to work on. But I think like I think now that I'm listening more to like people who don't have to, like Warren Buffett did this great podcast about a man who was saving. And then I just listened to another book about a man who basically lived on very minimum means. And I think living outside of consumerism is also a sense of freedom. It does depend on your personality. Because I do have a friend who don't save a bit and doesn't even care about tracking her money, and she seems very free, although she's free off her credit cards, but she don't care. So that's also a sense of freedom to me.
yeah, it's all based on your personality. Some of us are savers, some of us are spenders. Most people don't like tracking. Um, uh, I personally usually track things down to the penny, and I can tell you where every dollar has been spent. Um, but that's also, because of my 30 years of managing, millions of dollars for rich white folks. I had to be accountable, and I had to, dot every I, cross every T. So it was just part of my personality. Um, but this is where tools are available now to help you with that, to help you keep track of that T-bill that you may have, that CD that you may not even know has already matured and is just sitting there and hasn't been reinvested, right? If you had a tool that reminded you, or a tool that automatically reinvested it, um, then we're living in the age of AI agents, and so what CPEN has done is we've have rolled out our first set of AI powered tools that we're making available to our core members, because we do have different membership tiers. We have our active members, which is our basic membership tier. Then we have our core members, in which everyone here is going to be upgraded to a core membership. And then we have our investor tier, which is our highest tier. And Lorraine is actually an investor member because she invested in one of our investment opportunities. But we're offering our AI powered tools to our core and investor members. So I encourage each of you to log into your CPIN and check out the AI tools that we're offering. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think two additional conversations that might be good to have, or even some deep dives, would be around the psychology of money. And then like what is money? Like what is money? And maybe even delve a little bit into the philosophical side of it. One of the interesting exercises I did when I was teaching financial literacy is noticing the difference between $100 in your pocket cash and $100 on a debit card, and how having to take the cash and depart with actual physical currency is you feel that experience. You can physically, particularly they say when you're running you're spending four, five, $600 in cash, and you're carrying it around, and that's your budget. You tend to be more aware of the spend, feel the spend, therefore may not spend on something trivial that you easily do when you just swipe the card. Um, and I think so. That's one thing just to note. I share that out, and in the classroom, a lot of the students resonated with that exercise. I know it tends to be with me. I tend to be less trivial when I'm running around with cash than I am just the swipe of the card. So back to your point, Mike, having systems that check, and even with AI, eventually you're going to be able to get, my alarm goes off and it tells me the time when it goes off, right? Maybe you after you swipe your card, and AI gives you a verbal update or an alert. Then you click it; it gives you a verbal update on your account balance, how much you spent that day, if you reach your daily budget, etc. We're going to get there. Someone's going to create that. But that's ultimately what I want to suggest. I think those might be two good conversations. That what is money, and then the psychology behind money. Then I just want to share that little experience I've had, the cash versus swiping the.
Somebody got
Thanks, Mark.
cash. Somebody got cash somewhere. In my whole
That part, right? And so
in
when you
my whole
think
house, I
about
think
that,
there's a $10 bill somewhere.
but when you think about that, Tim, think about, and if you think about there's such thing as social engineers in the background in these think tanks, et cetera, just think about that, how they have moved people away from cash more to swiping cards. And it's easier for people because it's almost mindless. Sometimes people just start swiping their cards.
Yeah, yeah, it's true, and it's true. Listen, I grew up learning that I should always carry a couple of $100 in a money clip. That was back when I was trying to look like somebody, right, and be somebody, and it was important. And you're right, it was easier to, I could control my money better than I can with a swipe. And now cash, please, I only have, who does that? Cash App is what you got, right? Everybody's got a cash here or there, something to move Zelle. And so, and especially after if you did a lot of stuff in Europe, there was no cash in Europe for a long time. So it's very difficult, but I appreciate what you're saying, and trying to teach those habits is a very difficult thing, right? So in the old days we used to say always have a quarter so you could call home.
Yep.
Right? Forget that noise now. Ain't a payphone nowhere in the world. Nobody. What's a payphone? Right? So times have changed, and do it. I mean, I now also too when you talk about money, there is a thing about value. When I never will forget when I went to
Amen.
when I went to grad school, and I thought I was looking really good and sharp, and I came on in. I didn't know any better. I'm a guy from the hood. I went to grad school, and I met a guy who he was an Arab guy, and he had on these powder blue ostrich hide, bumped up skin, ostrich hide boots. And I was looking at those things. I said, "Man, there's some loud shoes you got on." He said, "Yeah, well, these are my Tony Lambas." Now this is 1977. He said, "These are my Tony Lambas." I said, "Who?" He said, "Tony Lambas." And I said, "But some loud boots." He said, "Let me tell you." He said, I only wear skins, and I wear them this way, and here's what you do." And he started telling me about skins. He said, "Now look at your feet." He said, "The shoes you have on," he said, "those are pleather." So I didn't know any better. I said, "Well, I got these from Tom McCann's." He said, "Yeah, they're pleather, okay, plastic leather." He said, "My shoes will last forever. All I got to do is change the soles and the heels and put wooden shoe trees in, and they will last forever." Well, he didn't lie. I wound up when I got my first hit on some money. I went out and got my Gators, and kept getting shoes. And I mean, when I go in the closet, I have to carry a whip so to keep them off of me. But that was what we did. But that added value, and those shoes still there, and they're still valuable and everything for me if I need to go somewhere with them. And I have to say this last part about it. Last story. I was doing a deal with somebody and out negotiated these people, and it was really great. So I took them to the airport, and they looked down at my feet and said, "Ooh, look at those shoes on your feet." And he got turned to his lawyers in the back and said, "I see why he beat you guys." He knows what he's doing. He beat you guys out. And he looked at me, he said, "See my feet?" I looked at his, he said, "I got the same kind of shoes." So so sometimes for value, you need it in your game. These days, please, I mean, I got on I wear sketches and that's it. But sometimes you need that spending to be able to take you to another level. Otherwise, people won't pay attention to you. They won't see you. Who's gonna go see a lawyer that has holes in his jeans, right? And thinking that he knows what he's talking about. Um, so value. You talked about money, but value is important.
Thanks, Tim. Um, Leroy, we haven't heard from you this evening. You want to say anything?
Thank you. I'm always following the conversation and right in the middle of it at the same time. I'm a good tracker of spending. I operate within a budget, and very, very, very seldom do I deviate from it. So when you talk about the let's see, that was the redirecting the money or reallocating of whatever. I'm probably at that stage right now. But I am following everything that you have shared. You mentioned the three levels of membership. I believe you said did you say basic members, core members, and investment members?
Yeah, so it's active, core, and investor.
Active, okay, active. So now, so investment would be the higher of
Correct.
it.
Yeah, and an investor member is someone who has invested in one of the investment opportunities.
Yes, such as I don't see her name now on my screen, but you mentioned her. Congratulations. Um, but yeah, so in other words, at this level, you mentioned that I am at the core members level.
Yeah, and so right now, the core is a paid membership level, but for those that have been consistently coming to the Let's Talk About It discussions, I'm going to upgrade you guys today to the core membership so that you get all of the benefits without having to pay.
Okay, I appreciate that. And then the next thing would be the investors, which I need to go back on the website to see the different categories. I have not been on there since I think you were going to do some upgrading on the website before we stopped meeting a few months ago. So you've upgraded.
Yes, yes. So, so,
Okay.
so I took that break from October through January, and during that time is when we upgraded the website, and then we started rolling out the AI powered tools and making the back end more feature rich.
Okay, so I could use my same password
Yep.
that I had. Okay, all right, sounds good. But anyway, the conversation is always very, very helpful. Even after 5 or 6 meetings during the course of a day, I put it on my schedule to make sure that I am on the B, BNIC CPIN network. I'll make sure that I'm here. And also, I am one of those persons that like to stay on topic. And so that's why I listen a lot. And all of us that I see on here in that category of staying on topic. I do know that at least one person that used to come on that uh, sort of goes off topic a bit, but focus. Focus is the point. So I'm happy to be on.
Well, and I am happy to have you guys as and you're consistent in your attendance, and so that's one of the reasons why I want to reward you guys with the free upgrade to the core membership level. And I, just request feedback from you guys on when you guys do log in and see the new AI powered features. Just give me your feedback on what you think about them and what additional features would you guys like to see. Um, with that, we are at our hour, and I'd like to thank you guys for coming. I think this is a very important topic. It's one of those basic level personal finance topics, but it helps get people's mindset straight because it is a conscious decision to move from being a consumer to being a capital allocator. And with that, hope to see you guys here back in 2 weeks when we have a new topic and to stay blessed and stay safe. Bye bye.
Great night, everybody.